Hey, it's Seth. Opportunity knocking, episode 5. All right, that timing wasn't as good as the last one, but hey, it's not delayed like it was before. So, anyway, I need a new button too, by the way, because I'm gonna overuse that button if I keep hitting it. But anyway, maybe you guys like it. Maybe it makes you smile a little bit. That's the hope, right? It's all about having fun with real estate as we learn and stuff like that, and as I try to share a little bit of knowledge. Hopefully, I'm adding value to you guys' business. That's the ultimate goal here. If I am, subscribe, because every week I drop one of these videos and maybe you get a nugget out of it. That's the goal. Today we're going to talk about exit strategies. Last week we talked about the different ways to find deals depending on the different niche that you're in. This one's going to be exit strategies. It's going to be, again, generalized based on the different niches that you're in, just a broad view. Then after this episode, so next week, we're going to start diving into the different niches. And I'm kind of torn. Have not made a decision yet on which way I want to go, if I want to dive into just one niche and really cover it good and then move on, or if I want to take each one of them and devote an episode to one specific type, whether it's marketing or stuff like that, and then do marketing for this niche, this niche, this niche, and then move on. I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet, but we should know by next week, right? Anyway, today we're going to talk about the different exit strategies. Again, it's not niche specific either. So talk about the different types that are out there. I break it down into probably 4 different types. There's a lot more than that, we all know. And I break it down into 4, and then factors to consider it, and then a couple of tips on your execution. So the different types that I came up with, obviously selling the property is the easiest way to do it, and probably the most straightforward, right? If you're going to exit a property, selling that property, however it happens to be, whoever it happens to be to. You could rent the property out. Some people say that that's not an exit strategy. I disagree. I think even flippers have the ability to use this exit strategy in certain cases, and wholesalers could do it as well. So anybody could do this, and if you're able to do it where you're going to maybe take a loan out on the property and refinance or cash out or something like that, and the possibility of turning it into a long-term hold. It doesn't always have to be a long-term hold. You could only hold it for 6 months until the market changes. The last 2 is wholesaling. It's very much, that's my exit strategy, and that's my exit strategy, and that's my exit strategy, which I don't like, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then lease options is the 4th one that I get into a little bit. And the best thing about those, obviously, is the maintenance and the capital expenditures and stuff like that you don't have to worry about. But the depreciation and the cash flow, you still are able to benefit from. So go over these just a little bit. Like I said, we talk about the different factors and the timing that involved with it, and a couple of tips and tricks on how to execute it the best. We're going to get into wholesaling first, just because very typically most people, when they're wholesaling properties, they put properties under contract with the objective to sell that contract to somebody else. They don't have any other exit strategies, and I don't think that that's the best practice. Sometimes it is unavoidable. I completely understand, and if that's the case where that is going to be your only exit, it needs to be clearly defined between you and your seller. The expectation needs to be set out there very clearly. I do not plan on closing on this property. I do plan on marketing this property to someone else, and I will bring you a buyer. If I can't, it'll be by this date, and we'll have another conversation. That's simple enough, right? It reduces the fact that people getting discouraged, people thinking that you're pulling wool over their eyes, people think that you're doing things the wrong way. Open, clear communication is highly important in real estate in general. But with wholesaling, it is absolutely paramount. Not to say that when you're wholesaling that you can't put something on a contract at a price that makes sense for you to close on that property. Sometimes that can be your best option. I have multiple times had properties that had a lot of junk and a lot of debris and a lot of just nastiness in a property. And when wholesaling, when marketing it as a wholesale property to other investors, I was getting lowball offers. I was getting offers that were absurd, right? Absolutely. Anybody will pay 30 cents on the dollar. I get it. It's worth more than that. And one particular, we had it listed at $130,000 wholesale. I think we were making about 14 on the assignment, so we had it under contract around 116. And we were getting offers in the $80,000 to $85,000 range. Obviously, that's not going to work. A lot of wholesalers in that situation will go back to the seller and be like, "Hey, I know I could give you 106. Said I could give you 116, but I can only give you 50." I decided that wasn't the route that we wanted to go here. I knew that this was a moneymaker as a flip, even if we were the ones that did the flip, even though at the time we weren't in a situation where we wanted to do a flip. So we reached out to a private lender. We were able to get 100% financing on the property. We told them that if we did any other renovations, and we planned on doing very little, but we planned on doing a little bit, that we would finance all that. And that we would pay a rate that was more than what we needed to for him to do 100%, pay closing costs and everything. They were happy to do it. They weren't lending the money to anyone else, so their money was just sitting there. So they decided to do it. We closed on the property. I spent $2,000. And $2,000 was for people to come get all the junk out of the house, and for my cleaner to come and scrub it. Even though it was still a nasty house and it needed work and stuff like that, I wanted cabinets clean. I wanted the toilet clean. I wanted it to be clean, even though it was still a house that needed a lot of renovations. We then put it right back out there, had some people looking at it, and we listed it on the MLS because we owned it at that point. So luckily, one of my business partners is a broker as well, so we were able to list it through his brokerage. I had two people come and look at it. One person offered me $120,000. Another person offered me $15,000. And so there, in and of itself, you see a $40,000 difference. 3 days on the market, and we got a above asking price at 160. We were able to close on that property very quickly. We paid off our lender. We made more money even with all the fees and closing costs than we would have had we have wholesaled that property at the original 130 that we were looking at, just for an extra $2,000 plus fees and commissions. But hey, my lender made money, my realtor made money, our closing attorney made a little bit more money because they closed on it twice. So we paid out a lot of people, and we still made as much, if not a little bit. It was actually a little bit more than we would have made if we would have just done an assignment. Took a little bit of work, took a little bit of creativity, took a relationship with my private lender, but it all worked out. So having multiple exits is important, especially when you're wholesaling. Don't just say, "Oh well, we're going to wholesale it and that's it." Some markets you may be able to do that. Some markets it's super hard to find deals, and once you found the deal, you can sell it for pretty much whatever you want. If you're in one of those markets, sure, absolutely. Typically you can make more money flipping the house too, so be open, right? That's another thing when it comes to factors that you have to consider. You got to consider your investment goals, right? And where you are currently in your investment business and in your investment life. Are you able to pivot like that? I was lucky enough to have a team around me and the connections that I had that a pivot was easy enough for me, and so that's what we did, and that's how we made it happen. Other options for exit strategies, like we were talking about before: selling, renting, lease options. Lease options are great. It's a mixture of both selling and renting, right? Because you are actually selling the property, you're giving them the option to purchase through a lease agreement. They take over ownership of the property as far as the deferred maintenance. They are the owners, right? So you don't have to worry about calls about the toilets. and big repair costs, small repair costs, leaky faucets. They're worry about all that. It all falls on your tenant, and then as long as they're able to get their financing together by the deadline that you set, then everything's good. And then if they can't and you end up having to take the property back, you can do it again, make even more money. So we'll dive more into the lease options later on in this series. It's a great option that a lot of people I know have used many times before and made a lot of money doing so. So selling and renting, selling is pretty obvious. A couple of things that you want to consider when you are doing like fix and flip and selling a property on the market. When you're buying that property, you're going to run your comparables on sold. Don't use there's 5 houses in this neighborhood and they're all listed for $200,000, so that means that this house is going to be worth $200,000. It's not. Those houses are listed, they're not sold. Until they're sold, the number means nothing. It's just an asking price. So make sure when you're running your comps for your ARV that you're using sold comps that have already closed, and those prices are locked in. So that's super important. But you also want to keep your eye on the properties that are listed too. Is it just one in that neighborhood that's for sale, or is it 6 that's in that neighborhood that's for sale? It's important for 2 reasons. The first reason is obviously lower the inventory, the higher the price. So if there's a bunch of houses for sale in that neighborhood, you're going to have competition. So your house probably isn't going to sell for as much of a premium as you may hope. But also, remember that any house that closes, let's say that a flip takes you 90 days. Well, comps are typically pulled between 90 and 180 days, right? Most recent for the last 90 days or at 180 days. So those houses that are for sale when you're closing on your house and you're going to flip in that neighborhood, they are going to be the comps that the realtors that your buyers use to determine the value of your property, that their appraisers use when it comes to the lending later on down the line. They're going to be your comps. So what are you doing that's different? How are you going to set yourself apart? Are you going to align with what they're doing as far as level of renovation? Then you're going to be in that same price range. It's not rocket science here, right? 5 houses sell for $200,000. You're not selling yours for $400,000 if it's the same house. It's just not going to happen. So don't plan on it happening, right? Also understanding the market as far as days on market activity, right? Everything in that neighborhood is sitting on the market for 90 to 100 days. And expect for yours to do the same. And maybe it's a time where you want to pivot and hold that property for a little bit until the market picks back up. If everything in that market's selling in one day, then understand that you probably won't have as much holding costs, and you can ask a little bit more, and you can get a little bit more aggressive. And if you're okay with sitting on the market for 3 days instead of 1 day, then go for it, right? But understanding the market is important. The other part of that is with the interest rates, affordability. If interest rates are continually increasing, then expect your house maybe not to get as high of a premium just for affordability reasons for people in that neighborhood. If they're continually going down, the opposite could be true, right? 4 or 5 months from now, when you go to list that property, it could be worth $40,000 more than you thought it was going to be. And it's not that it's worth anymore. It's just somebody's willing to pay more because the interest rates dropped 1.5 points. And well, $40,000 is no different on that payment now than it was 4 months ago. So yeah, I'm good at it. I'm good at $1,800 a month. That means I can pay this much. 4 months ago, it only meant I could pay this much. Market's important. Renting too is an exit strategy. Whether you're buying it for cash and then you're just holding it and collecting the income and getting it back slowly, or if you're scaling and you're taking out debt on that property, and you decide to do a DSCR, a debt service coverage ratio loan, or a traditional loan on that property, you do like cash out refi, huge benefits to being able to do those things, depending on your different investment goals and your different plan for your business. But that change from that initial purchase, whether it's hard money or all cash or OPM, to that long-term money, that is an exit. Even though you're not technically exiting the property, you are exiting that initial stage into your final stage where you hold that long term and enjoy the appreciation, depreciation, and cash flow of that property. So another great option for everybody. And biggest thing with that, as far as tips that I can come up with for you guys, is when you are buying and you're doing it as a buy and hold, like the BRRRR strategy, factor that refinance in the beginning. Find out your loan terms in the beginning. Understand the process that you're going to have to go through. Understand what's going to be required of you, appraisals and different things like that. What is your lender going to be looking for? And figure out, project what that refinance is going to look at before you buy it. Because if you don't, it may be the last step in the BRRRR method. It's the most important. So start with that, and you'll be able to be safer moving forward. Anyway, that's about all I got for today, guys. Like I said, next week we're going to dive into the wholesaling niche for a little bit, and then I think we're going to talk about analyzing deals as a wholesaler, and then we're going to, I haven't decided yet. We're either going to move along with wholesaling, or we're going to jump into how to analyze deals as a flipper, then how to analyze deals as a buy and hold investor, and how to analyze deals for a lease option. Or we may just stay with wholesaling for a little bit and just do all that, get into marketing and negotiating and different things like that, and then dive into the flipper. Haven't decided. I think I'm going to cut around so that everybody gets some content at least once every couple of weeks. And then not everybody's interested in wholesaling. And then not everybody's interested in fixing flips. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. So if you want to drop a comment down at the bottom and let me know how you think I should proceed, that would be great and appreciated. And if you hit that like and subscribe button, it does nothing but help me, guys. So I appreciate it if you do. Outside of that, man,